Good evening, everyone. I'm your host, comedian, magician, Danny Whitson. But it's all tricks aside, because tonight we're turning the paranormal into the normal. Join me as we explore the gray areas of reality. We're going to talk all things paranormal, UFOs, ghosts, cryptids, and aliens, and see how it's all connected. This podcast is brought to you by the Experiencer Support Association, and we are live. So if you're an experiencer yourself, or you're just plain nosy, be sure to send me your question and subscribe to the podcast. Now, get ready, because it's going to get deep. No, really, we're going to go way out there, because this is Beyond the Tinfoil Hat. What's happening, my paranormal junkies? Welcome to Beyond the Tinfoil Hat, and I'm your host, Danny Whitson. Guys, we got a fantastic show lined up for you this evening. But first, I got to say, we are broadcasting live from the E-United Paranormal Radio Network and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network on 105.3 FM on the Gulf Coast and 107.7 FM in New Orleans. All right, so guys, get ready in the chat. Get your questions ready, because we do got a very interesting guest tonight. I do want to say this real quick. I want to start this episode a little different. Just to get a little personal here tonight. This weekend, my family received some bad news. It was unexpected passing of my sister, Pam. And I just want to say to the listeners and the viewers, if you guys would, any good energy, good vibes, prayers, thoughts, everything, please send them my family's way tonight. And to my sister Pam, who I know wherever she is, she's out there listening. I love you and I miss you. All right. So now we're going to bring in our main man, the man behind the scene, too nice to be mean, Mr. Chris Green. Come on, where you at, Chris?
Hello.
There you go. Hey. So there it is. I love the decoration that you've popped up there. There we go. Here we go. We got. So how have you been, sir?
Good. It's cold right now. It's like minus 20, minus 30.
Now, see, it is very cold here, too, and I can complain on that. All right. Now, it's not Canada cold, but it's cold. It's cold everywhere, man. You know, believe it or not, dude, it is snowing in Texas and in Panama City Beach in Florida right now.
No way.
Yes, dude. It is totally snowing. Texas, New Orleans. If you look at New Orleans right now, there's snow in New Orleans. Listeners in New Orleans, guys, I know you're not used to the snow at all. Not at all. All right. But Chris right here, if you need advice, reach out to Chris Green. He can help you with any snow advice.
Yeah.
But other than that, how's your week been?
Oh, it's been all right.
All right. Busy, staying busy?
Yep.
So just out. What do you do? How cold did you say it was there?
Minus 30.
Minus 30?
Yes.
Holy cow, dude. What do you do when it's minus 30?
Stay in the house and keep warm.
That is real cold. All right. Well, I tell you what, guys, get your questions ready tonight for Chris, because, the use, I'm going to get not for you, but Chris will be eyeballing the questions, and we'll get them ready for tonight's guest. Yeah, all right, Chris. Everybody say bye to Chris.
Bye.
All right. Okay, guys, we're going to jump right in for tonight's guest. We got a good one tonight, too. Let's see. Here we go. And I tell you what, I'm going to keep this a little short, and I'm going to let her do most of the introduction explaining, because I know she can do it better than I can. But I tell you what, her name is Dr. Sharnael Wolverton Dehon, and she's a captivating multidisciplinary expert who seamlessly blends neuropathic medicine, spirituality, and quantum science to empower individuals on their journey to wholeness. This sounds interesting. Guys, let's get a big warm welcome for Dr. Sharnael Wolverton Dehon. Hello, how you doing, Doc? Can I just call you Doc for short?
Sure.
That's awesome. Well, I tell you what, thank you so much for coming on to the podcast. If you don't mind, though, do you care to let our listeners and viewers know a little more about you? Give yourself a better introduction than what I did, if you don't mind.
Yeah, well, first of all, that was an amazing intro. I love whoever did all your actual intro with the music and the tech and everything. And then also deep heart, good vibes to you and your family. That's really
awesome. Thank you.
Very tough to hear. There's been a lot of that for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. And I actually am currently in Louisiana right now. I'm from Montana originally. But I'm about an hour north of New Orleans, and I don't know where you are, but it is freaking cold here.
It is. I'm in Tennessee, and we got hit with snow last week, and now there's just this whole system that's coming through. It is insane, and it is. But now
it's snowing. Like it's still snowing.
That is
really
crazy.
Cold.
And you probably from Montana, you're not a stranger to the snow, but
definitely not. But I've been here 30 years now.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, off and on. Been I try to leave and then I come back, and I'll leave and I come back. But there's only maybe 4 times I've seen snow in Louisiana. So this is a big deal for the kids to have snow day, and they're not tomorrow either. So but yes. Interesting times that we're in, what they're doing with this weather all over the place, including California, and God bless just them in that situation too. But I personally don't think that it's a nature type situation, but that's just me. I don't think
there's something there. There absolutely that is a topic actually that we could definitely talk about too, because there's some things popping up even with the wildfires. There's some really odd stuff going there. But if you don't mind, though, Doc, if you don't mind, go ahead and just tell me just a little bit more about yourself, and we'll get right into that. That'll work.
Absolutely, yeah. So my background is actually ministry for years. I did conference speaking all over. I've been to 51 countries and spoken all over the United States as well. And mostly teaching on quantum physics and the supernatural, the paranormal, intuition, energy, neuroscience, that kind of stuff. Just love miracles, love teaching people about how we can use the technology that God's given us to create and have a more streamlined, healthy, abundant type life or timeline instead of some default, created terrible life timeline situation. But I started out with health. I went started out with ministry and that service, prayer, believed in all that, got kind of sick, was trying to find the answers and reverse engineer my own physical body. Western medicine wasn't helping, so I started in the naturopathic realm, found out that a lot of the neuroscience and biological things that we entertain and or participate in doesn't always help. Some of the programming out there, at least that what I came up military, you kind of just did whatever people said to do and followed orders. And I'm not really in that vein anymore. I've always questioned everything. And so even in the medical realm, started questioning that, started in this naturopathic energy flow. And I do have a practice, a small practice here in Louisiana, but I mostly teach. I have a podcast and we teach, and we have a lot of cool people on and talk about the same things you do, the paranormal, the UFOs, the Bigfoots, all the secret CIA,
all the cool stuff,
all the truth stuff out there.
The truth stuff, yeah. Yes. Well, it's first of all, it's weird that you even bring that up, because I had a conversation today with one of my close friends. We were talking, we were talking about the healthcare industry, and this is said a lot, and it's true, and it's been true for a long time. The reason why they don't cure anything anymore because there's no money in cures, and Western medicine has a whole lot of flaws to it. And me personally, without trying to go down on a political debate here road, but it's just weird when you mix, something like healthcare that should be a given right to every human being with capitalism. You know what I mean? I think those two things should be separate somehow. And unfortunately, where we live, it doesn't work that way. I'm not saying that the other countries have it figured out either, but I just think that anytime when you attach health and money together, it's just it doesn't mix well. And kind of like what you were teaching on the energy and what you're talking about there, I'm full-fledged on that. I think there's something really to that about healing and, becoming, healing all your ailments, So
we are frequency. We're electric beings. And there's been more than enough devices and inventions that have been created over the last few years that can be easy fix to all of this. Because if we are electric, and there's a frequency to every dis-ease. And the counterpart or the health part of it is finding out what that frequency is and plug it in. And of course, they are screwing with the water and the air and the frequency and the wires. And, there's so much interference, not to mention entrainment through, all the political everything, and then the entertainment and sports and weather and everything,
the distractions, too, I also, and I want to, because you kind of brought this up when we were talking about the weather, something I want to talk about, with the California, wildfire, the fires that was going on there, which was horrible. Yeah, that's horrible. That's an awful thing. My heart goes out to all those people that's lost, everything. But then you start seeing these UFO sightings in the area. You start seeing, I saw some of the orbs that the news never talks about. They always talk about the drones, but you don't ever talk about the orbs that are flying around that people are seeing, and those have been spotted in the area.
And the laser from the dews that are coming down, and and just the whole setup where the insurance companies pulled out because
that's weird, isn't it? Isn't that strange?
Well, they had some conditions that they gave Newsom, and they told him you need to have 62 new fire stations built in California, and to meet with and just in that area for the population to be helped and served. Obviously, the reserve water wasn't filled up since February 2023, and they were
I thought that was an odd choice, odd decision to do too.
Don't you think we need water for the hydrants? And then they took away $101 million of the whole, forestry and fire station, budget just to even hire people and or build these fire departments that were needed to meet the population. So why would a insurance company back up a state that wasn't going to do the basics to just cover the bases of being protected? They're going to go out of business. And so
what's odd though is I'm to wonder why did they had to realize that they live in one of the most driest places. It is the driest place in the country, and why why would you think it would be okay to cut on that if that's something that you were trying to cut corners on? You know what I mean? That makes really no sense to me. But what's your, because when we were talking about like when we're talking about the weather, you had mentioned about that you don't think this is actually really a natural phenomenon either. So there's always been a conspiracy out there that they are messing with the weather.
They are. It's not a conspiracy. I have about 1 million patents that I've set out on my website and my newsletters. They've been doing it since like the 40s.
Well, and if you think about it too, this is why I don't think it's a crazy claim to make. I really don't, because, and I don't know if this would be their motive, but this is just what I would think, is if you have a country that can control the weather, you control the world.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, the initiative is there. The incentive is there for this to be a reality. But I tell you what, then, Doc, let's hear what let's hear your take on it. I would love to.
Well, I mean, they have HARP, they have DEWs, they have which are directed energy weapons. They did this in Paradise back in the day when California had the fires previous. They've done it in Hawaii. They did it in Louisiana twice with the unknown storm where just literally cloud came over this, I don't know, half the state, and it rained and did not move. The cloud would not move for like 4 days. There was no movement whatsoever. Nobody could figure it out. So it's like, even the stuff in North Carolina, I mean, everything is just so suspicious. How many hurricanes have hit even in Florida? Like, I think 3 right away, just in a really short matter of time. So a lot of that is distraction. A lot of it is like land grabs, because they're doing these smart city things, and they got the Olympics coming up, and whatever it is, if they need minerals or if they need whatever, they just decide what they're going to do. The question is, at what point do people do anything about it? Because probably a lot of those people will not move back to LA or that area. I don't know what's going to happen. And, what's his name was already on camera. You probably saw all the footage of him dancing around so excited because he's already talking to all the people in Hawaii who are investors who may want to be investing in there. It's like, these people still have their houses on fire, and he's doing a dance outside, talking about selling their property. It's like,
oh yeah.
And taxes are due now. And who would want to pay the taxes on a piece of property that got burnt to the ground, where the taxes should have went to all the things, but probably went to the immigrants that are legal, whatever. I mean,
so what do you think? What do you think? Like, as far as with the weather? Okay, so we don't hear anything. Okay, one thing we don't hear is about the weather in other countries. I mean, that's not something that anybody pays attention to. Not here. I couldn't tell you what's not. I mean, what's going on, who got hit with a typhoon or this or that. Really, So, do you think that we're doing something in other countries too? Like, I mean, with HARP, or we're only testing out on ourselves? I mean, what do you think's going on there?
I don't know if we've done stuff with other countries. I know that some people in Ireland contacted me earlier this week and were like, hey, the same thing happened over here. And I know Canada had some stuff that happened where people are like, oh, yeah, they did the same thing to us. So whoever they are, I don't know. I think we have this other side of our government that does whatever it wants to do. And I'm sure there's worldwide people who are doing whatever they want to do. And then individual countries that have their darker side, people that do whatever they want to do. But the Montauk project is something my dad actually worked on 73 to 76 in New York, and it was these big satellite things that would just move, that was supposedly doing X, Y, and Z, but they were really changing weather, I mean, they were literally set up stuff in the barracks or in the wild, and creatures, wildlife would just come and sit in the city and just be almost like zombies, just sitting there, not even knowing why they came. Crime would go up or down based on what they were putting in the frequency. There's voice to God tech where they could pump stuff in the air where people think they're hearing God's voice through them, telling them to do things like take things that they shouldn't and stuff like that. So I'm miming because they took my whole channel down for saying a lot of these words. But
really?
Yeah. Oh yeah. 10 years of my life, they took down my entire channel.
Was it YouTube or was it?
Yeah, YouTube. And I'm presently actually in jail on Facebook. I can't comment or anything, which I thought they were lifting all that, even though Zuckerberg was freaking wherever with the president the other night. It's like, I don't know when they're going to actually do the thing that he said he was going to do and actually make free speech, but we'll see how that goes.
Man, so that's crazy. That's nuts. So they took your channel down just for saying what you were saying just now.
Yes, I'm very careful with words.
Gotcha. That's another level that I have not ventured in. I've heard I've got a close friend that'll be coming on this podcast, and he goes down the rabbit hole a lot. And there's times that he stops. He's like, "Well, look, we can't talk about this. We can't talk about that." And I'm like, "Sure, you can, man. Go ahead." But I mean, apparently the Big Brother is listening and paying attention when you don't think they are. Apparently, but well, let me ask you this: you talked about the frequency stuff, and I have heard of a type of a high frequency that they could play that would help you help you hallucinate, help you, maybe hear things that's not there or see things, just kind of like what you mentioned earlier. That's a real thing. And wasn't it just a couple years ago, maybe 2 or 3 years ago, that we had everybody who was in Cuba, and they got to feeling ill, and they believe it was like a high frequency sound wave type of weapon that was being used, which made everyone.
I haven't heard that, but a lot of people think that the C-19 situation was a frequency generated. I think it was multiple things that were in play here, that they just like cranked up everything they could. But yeah, I haven't heard about the Cuba thing. I'll have to go dig into that.
It was a couple years, just maybe 2-3 years ago. And it was some politician type top dog officials, and they got very ill. And they believe it was due to some type of high frequency type weapon that was, and they have no clue where it came from. So it's just one of those odd things. But that's very interesting that your father had worked with that, huh?
Yeah, and it's very compartmentalized, so he wasn't told a lot, and he will like swear to God that it wasn't used for the way that I say that it was. But if you talk to other people, they'll tell you otherwise. Like they did the whole Stranger Things like movie based on that project.
Okay.
And there's a lot of truth to it, as far as even them using children, mostly boys. They use some girls, but yeah, they were doing stuff with the UFO thing. They were using it to somehow gather intelligence in the atmosphere and what have you. I mean, there was a lot of things they were doing it. They didn't really know what they were doing, but I know that they tried to recruit him. Westinghouse and Tesla always kind of like fought over, I don't know if it was like legit jealousy or competition, or if they were friends and still had a friendly competition. Either way, Tesla's technology was what was used back there with Montauk. And I know when I was 10 years old, we were living in in Germany, and Westinghouse actually tried to recruit my dad to leave the military to go work with him. And we went over there, but he didn't take the job. So yeah, frequency is real. We're 67 megahertz on a healthy adult day. If we drop that, though, we can be susceptible to illness. And I'm sure maybe being too high could do some things that are, not so great either. But yeah, I think they're controlling even like the thought processes of people, because I've seen programs where literally I had patients who absolutely anti taking anything foreign in their body and were just adamant. And then like one day they slipped and said that they took it. And I was like, I'm so shocked that you would do that. And all of them said the same exact thing. Well, I was just driving down the street, and all of a sudden I heard, it's okay, it'll be fine. Like the exact phrase. And I know other times there's been something that would be in the air, like a suicide or maybe it's a different word, but to unalive people, they'll put out a mass like depression type thing where people hear to go take action to unalive themselves.
Wow.
Oh yeah.
That is. Well, I'll tell you what, we've got a question here, and we will get some questions from time to time out of the chat here for you, Doctor. But from Christy Ann Houghton, and I think she's had to tell me how to say her name. I'm sorry, Christy, but she is she's a norm. She pops up all the time here. We love having her every week. She does have a question. Says, I use healing frequency for some of my health issues and to help me sleep. Which frequency is best for sleep? Great question, Christy.
Yeah, YouTube has some really good sleep frequencies. Nature is really good too, by the way. Like anything with the ocean sounds. I usually don't do birds at night, like, any kind of bird outside stuff, because that's more of a wake up. And even if you've done studies on plants or flowers, you can see when birds start singing, like the plants will start to open up. And
isn't that crazy? Yeah, that's awesome. I've heard of that before.
Yeah, so I usually don't do like birds, but thunderstorms, waves, things like that, and then any kind of like sulfago, what do they call it? Sulfago tones, or the frequencies like 428 and 555 and 888, and all of those are really good. Just I always try to find the ones without the commercials if you don't have whatever pun or whatever, so you don't like be sitting there and then you get this pharma thing, while you're in sleep being programmed unnecessarily by some, our country and New Zealand are the only countries that do pharmaceutical commercials at all.
Yeah, no, how gross is that? I just think that's so gross.
Super gross.
And are they still listing the rap sheet of side effects too, And you're like, I think I would just rather have bunions. I mean, the other one is like, side effects may include, blood rolling out of your ears, your eyeballs popping out of your head, No,
most of the side effects are the thing that they're trying to get solved in the first place. Usually
I'm like, well, let me just keep, okay, well, I think I'll just keep my and I even thought it, and don't get me wrong, I'm not somebody who is I found this a little, I'm a comic, so I observe a lot of this stuff, okay? And I thought it was kind of funny. No offense with antidepressants. They help a lot of people. They do a lot of stuff. I'm not knocking antidepressants at all. But now they've got people taking antidepressants for your antidepressants. I don't know if you've seen this. It's like, take this medicine if your antidepressant's not working. Take this medicine for your antidepressant. If you take this antidepressant, I was like, what is going on here? It's just, I don't know. But yeah, in the good old US of A, we love to sell our drugs.
It's terrible. But yeah. And then if you're sleeping to that, like accidentally, then you're programming yourself, because most of the commercials too are in first person. So you come out like programmed, literally. By the
well, maybe it's a good time to sell sleeping pills. I haven't heard any sleeping pill ads, but that would be a great time. You guys hit me up. If you're listening, hit me up. I got $1 million idea. All right, we just said it. America, baby, America. Well, I tell you what, this is what I'd like to do. Because we're getting ready to cut to commercial here soon. When we get back, I do want you to talk about these classes, because you said you teach classes. All right. So that sounds really interesting. And we'll dig some more into this bio. Let me pull this bio back up, because there's a lot here about you. You've done a lot. We've got a lot of cool stuff. And also, as a founder of True TV, that slipped me. I got to see what's up with that. True TV. Okay, I know that channel. I've seen some True TV. So, but yeah, we'll talk about your classes, and then talk about, plenty of other stuff on here. And guys, get your questions ready. All right. To get some more. Live Light. We're waiting. What are you doing? Where you at? We got Christy. We got David Martin. I see y'all, you guys. Lisa, what's up? Thank you guys for hopping in here tonight. And yes, thank you guys. I saw all the nice comments. Thank you guys so much. You guys are sweet. Guys, we will be right back here shortly after these messages with Dr. Sharnael Wolverton. Dehon?
That's it.
Got it.
Are you an experiencer of unknown phenomena? Do you consider yourself a paranormal journalist? Do you investigate strange sightings in the sky? Or do you study the expansion of the human mind? You are not alone. Welcome to Tessa, a one-stop shop that offers multiple services to experiencers. Place where we can work together. Place for us to learn. Place for us to grow. A place for us to change the world. Join us today.
Have you ever wondered, or maybe just thought to yourself, if there were others just like you? You know, people with extraordinary abilities, psychogenic advancement, and perhaps unique intuitions. Maybe you just wondered if there were other people who experienced unimaginable, unexplained, or even unusual and paranormal events. Are there people who have more questions, more fears than answers? Well, you're not alone. You've never been alone. We believe you. Sign up for EA today.
It's not the strongest species, nor the most intelligent that survive, but the ones that are most adaptive to change. Join us for Beyond the Tinfoil Hat, live on YouTube, Facebook, and wherever you get your podcasts.
Don't miss live interviews on Beyond the Tinfoil Hat, the latest declassified Canadian UFO documents, or an inside look at groundbreaking investigations. Subscribe on YouTube today for free.
If you want to really find out about Ryan, ask him about all his work and UFOs in Ontario.
Ryan is one of Canada's leading new UFO investigators. He conducts and oversees UFO investigations on a constant basis. He's compiled a tremendous amount of data regarding UFOs in Canada.
I have used his research extensively. He's much more than a one-dimensional character. He's an authority on UFOs and investigating them, Meg.
Wow.
Really goes over how UFO investigations are done and what are some of the mistakes that people make when they submit evidence. For starters, don't edit your videos or photos before you send them.
He would come out with an annual report on not only the number of sightings, but how many were unexplained, unknown, or just, nothing could be said. What caused it?
If you want to hear more follow-up conversation between Ryan and myself, you can go to richardolanmembers.com, where we have a candid conversation on ufology, the paranormal, and more. And remember, while we learn and grow and search for the truth, let's be good to each other.
All right, guys, welcome back to Beyond the Tinfoil Hat. And if you're just now tuning in, we have been talking with Dr. Sharnael Wolverton Dehon. I got to say real quick, that's a new commercial that we have. That's an updated break there. And now we get the plug for the founder of TESSA, Ryan Stacy. He's a paranormal private investigator. And great, I like the commercial because now I don't have to plug the stuff. Good job, fellas. All right. But I tell you what, I want to get back into this with you, Doc. You had mentioned earlier about classes. Okay. So what exactly does that all cover and what do you teach there?
Yeah, I teach a lot of things actually. This Sunday, I have an online course that we're teaching how to design your world. And it's just talking about having quantum leaps. Maybe if you've been stuck or you kind of just keep going around with the same kind of patterns that you're not like wanting to keep doing that over and over again. it's a way to identify where the stuck was and then kind of streamline it out so it's clear and you have a different outcome. But we use
Now, when you say that, though, your world, like, so, I'm a big fan of you. You're kind of like the master of your universe,
yeah.
to a certain extent. So, if you want, if you don't want the negative people or the negative things in your universe, you ultimately are the master of that. You can push that out, eliminate that. A lot of out of sight, out of mind is a very real thing. So is that kind of like what you're talking about there? If there's something, you kind of teach them how to deal with that?
Well, so we create based on what our aura or biofield or electronic field, whatever you want to call it, is. And that aura, each person has one, and some of it's really, really big and some of it's smaller, depending on where you are in consciousness. But the average is like 4 to 5 feet. And what the makeup or the language of what's within the field electronically has to do with what you're thinking about, what you're talking about, what you're feeling. We have our own radiation, like signature code that comes through our ancestral patterning. And then our cells and our organs all have a frequency that radiate. And so there's a lot of different makeup in what the field is. But the bottom line is it serves two purposes, but that's why it's called a biofield too, radiating out and magnetizing back in. So if we keep getting things that are not maybe what you enjoy, some type of negative pattern, whether it's some like, or maybe people who use you, cancel clear or something like that. We look for the snags to see how it was, where's the genesis of that creation for that projection to go into the field. And then we clear it. So you have something else like a replacement frequency that is going to magnetize something more positive to you instead of something more negative. So you stop getting all those snags. And people get caught up in what I call like purgatory, energetic purgatory. It's, people think sometimes, oh, well, I'll just date a new guy or go get a new job. But then somehow everything morphs into like all the old stuff that was happening at the last place. And the common denominator is us. So the good news is, we can fix it. But the bad news is maybe you created it in the first place. And if we can get to that point where we identify, hey, I'm the problem, but I can fix it, then it just takes tweaking of whatever you're thinking about, what you're talking about, what you're feeling. And then if there is any kind of health issues like parasites, for example, or fungus, or I don't know, Lyme, things like that are physical situations that affect the biology and physiology, but that changes the radiation as well. So we started doing these group parasite cleanses for the physical reasons that we wanted to see, like positivity.
Now you say parasite. This is like, is it like a spiritual parasite?
We started doing actual physical parasite cleanses, meaning like for health, because of all the response that would happen physically when people have parasites, including all the way up to cancer. But what we found out is when they would do the physical group cleanses, because we would have like 118 people do it in one test, and then like 120 people the next month, and so on. When we would do their questionnaire on the way out, they were not only having physical responses, meaning they felt better, things were going away, all the stuff that they were dealing with physically was gone. We were also seeing energetic changes, which was surprising to me, but it kind of makes sense, because if you're putting out the radiation from the parasites are not just physical, but it puts out an energy that you, the person, the host, is a good victim. So you're basically putting out victim energy, and it can be picked up by predators who either on purpose and or accidentally fall under the equations that you have put out there. You only get what you are. So if we have low equations or victim energy, we collect people who are going to take advantage, cancel, clear. So that was kind of a side fun thing that happened where people were getting like abundance and new jobs and new, opportunities that maybe weren't presented there. But once they cleared out the physical parasites, it changed the electronic parasites, if that makes sense.
Okay, I'm following, and I can see kind of where you're going with that too. The but now the physical elements. So what exactly? How did you? I mean, how did you go about that again with if someone has a physical illness?
Well, most illness can be traced back to parasites.
Okay.
Believe it or not. Just about everything you could there's so many symptoms out there that oftentimes are parasites. And if you do biofeedback with me, which I can do that remote, we can do diagnostics, and I could, get like your voice pattern and your biofield picture. And then we use you as an AP address, basically, and we customize frequencies based on the diagnostics and send those frequencies back to you. That is a really good example of using technology for the positive instead of the negative, because I know that there's nefarious stuff going on as well. But that is a good way we can see what's going on with people. And I've worked with all the way in Australia to northern, Montana to, matter of fact, my co-host who's on my show weekly, he was having a shoulder injury, I guess it was about a month ago. And so I started working on him long distance, but a patient came in. So I took him off the equipment and put my patient on, and he sends me a WhatsApp within like 5 minutes of me turning it off. And he was like, "Hey, did you turn it off?" And I was like, "Actually, I just did." So people can feel it. I know I felt it the first few times that someone was working on me from another state away. And, but sometimes people don't feel it at all. Some people do feel it and they're very sensitive to it. Some people, it gives them a lot of energy and they just go clean and they get ideas and they're writing down stuff all over. I've had people who wrote books out of it, or music, or, just got like answers to problems in their business or in their relationships that suddenly was made clear to them. We've also had a lot of people who got abundance just from clearing the field up, or, the new job, or the husband that walked in, that they've been broke up for 3 years, or estranged families suddenly reconnected. And there's just a lot to energy because everything is energy. And so when we work with energy and we clear anything negative, then it leaves room for the positive. And so, but yeah, we can see parasites on biofeedback. We can see if there's any kind of electronic problems, coming from like Wi-Fi or 5G. We can look at that. We can look at issues. We can look at bone structure, hormones, EEGs, like all of this should be normal in every doctor's office where people can just do this. But
have you ever like diagnosed something as like cancer or something serious?
I work with a lot of people who have like the mysterious type stuff that doctors haven't been able to figure out. And matter of fact, my grandmother, who has now passed, 2 years ago, she was in Montana and we were down here, and my mom kept calling saying, they can't figure out what's going on with her, blah, blah, blah. I said, please just send a picture, send a recording of her voice, send it to me. And within 20 minutes, I was on the phone with the doctor saying she's dehydrated, she has a UTI, blah, 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 gave all the stats that I had on my stuff. And the guy was like, how do you know, blah, blah. I said, go test her. Turned out everything I said was right. And he was blown away that I could do that all the way in Louisiana from Montana. But we've had this for quite a while. We've had a lot of technology, but the people who come up with this technology, they usually end up going somewhere where we can't see them anymore, and they just vanish or have some mysterious problem that happens.
Oh, they just disappear. Yeah, absolutely. So strange. You know what? I do want to, not off topic, but to back up a little bit, Live Light, she's like I swear she's like a researcher on her own. she did find the name about what we were talking about earlier with the frequency there in Cuba. It's called Havana syndrome now.
Okay. I have heard of that.
It started back in 2016 and became known as Havana syndrome. That's right, Liv. She's smarter than me, and she likes to get me tongue twisted too sometimes with her questions. But yeah, so you have heard of that before?
I have. I didn't know what I have heard of Havana syndrome, but I didn't really know. I'm gonna have to dig into that for sure.
Yeah, that was a very interesting thing. Well, let me ask you this: is it a co-founder of True TV? It says.
Yes, I started True TV. I did television for 3 years back in the late 1900s.
Back in the good old 1900s. I remember the 1900s.
Well, the late 1900s, 1999. But
it was the 1900s, though.
Yeah, that's true. It just sounds so like grandma to say that. But anyway, yeah, we did TV for 3 years, and we were in Canada and the US, and on 3 different stations, and then we just moved everything online, kind of way before anybody else was. But like I said, YouTube and all that was taken down, so we started over this last April, and or was it 2 Aprils ago? Maybe it was 2 Aprils ago. Time is flying. But
when you say last April, you wait a minute. What's the difference between a year and a 2 year? It all blurs together.
These last few years seem to have really blurred.
Oh no, it does. I agree with you. I can't believe we're 2025, and I'm like, wait a minute. I mean, seriously, it was just 2020 and 20. All this. But yeah, I'm with you on that. It's just one big giant blur. So the True TV, is it not on the television no more? Now it's all online, True TV?
It's all online, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And we have different authors, actors, musicians, other podcasters. We've had, I don't know, we just like talking about fun things, anything health, anything spiritual, anything energy, anything paranormal, anything supernatural. We like doing what you do.
Yeah. Well, it's always weird because I'm a comedian / magician by trade, and people do like to think I don't make fun of anybody's opinions. I don't do that here. I tell people I'm funny for money. You put me on stage, and I'm your dancing monkey. And then the other side of it, the magic, magicians are known not to believe in anything fun. They a lot of them want to challenge and criticize any paranormal or anything just because we know how to fake all of it, which everything I do is BS on stage. I know how to pretend like I read your mind. Really, I'm not. But, but you have a good time believing in it. But just because we can do that doesn't mean it's not real, is what I have learned. At one time, I used to be just like that. But I've learned over the years that this is a very real thing. A very real thing. And it's something that, I'm very interested in. It's not saying that we'll ever have the real true answers to everything. I don't know. But while we're here, might as well, have fun trying.
Yeah, laughter's a biggie. I have had a couple comedians on the show too. Rodney Norman. I don't know if you know him.
Yeah, I know Rodney. Yeah.
He's been on several times, and he is such a philosopher, though. I mean, he's deep, but
Rodney had one of the best lines to a heckler I've ever heard in my entire life.
What did he say?
He was on stage and he's doing his bit, and someone heckled him, and Rodney just stops and he goes, "Hey, will you be quiet? I'm trying to do something right now." And you know how Rodney is. Only Rodney could get away with shutting a heckler down like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and it just fit him. When I saw it, I just died laughing. I thought that was hilarious. And the guy shut up. So, but yeah, Rodney is he is a thinker. Years ago, I used to have my own podcast called The Abracadam. And when I say during the COVID is when I started it. And it was, it was there for a while. Currently, it's not there right now. I'm now doing this, hosting this fantastic podcast. But yeah, I had Rodney on as a guest, and he is a great guy, fun guest.
He his daughter just passed. He just lost his.
I heard that. I saw that. That's awful.
Terrible. I know.
Yeah.
A lot of people are just going through some really, really difficult stuff. I mean, just the weather alone, but like there's, all these psyops. I mean, literally whatever happened to all the flying spaceships that were just literally 2 weeks ago? And then, the North Carolina stuff happened. And then we're only 20 days into this month, and the amount of stuff that's happened.
There's a lot of, that's what I was thinking that today, I like I said, I had the bad news, earlier and, this week, and there seemed like, I was like, man, for it just being 2025, there's so much that is just happening, so fast, and I've talked to people who say that 2025, a lot of things are going to happen, are going to come out, to natural disasters, to, psyop information, things are going to get revealed. I mean, and part of me is like, wow, this is cool. I want to hear about this, want to hear about that. And another part of me is like, man, it'd be nice just to have a good old boring year.
Right.
Nothing, but all I know is nothing seems to make sense to me. So I just,
and then they don't even want to talk about it. I mean, it was so weird. Like literally there was no explanation at all about all these things flying around.
Well, we talked about the fires, and there was a high number of UAPs or UFOs sighted in the area, which for some reason it's kind of normal that anywhere there's a natural disaster, there's a lot of sightings always. And then the stuff that happened, that was happening earlier with all the drones, but like I said, they didn't talk about the orbs, the orbs that were, being seen too, flying around, but no one talks about, at least the media doesn't. It is a very wild and crazy time to be alive. And, never in a million years, though, do I think we would have the conversations that we do have about, UFOs and the paranormal. So it's a very weird time.
It's definitely getting to be more mainstream,
Oh, it is. And I mean, it's the information age, and it can't be treated like a taboo topic or, oh, you're crazy but no, really, all you got to do is just look up. That's all you got to do. Let me do this because, so you do. First of all, what's the name of the podcast now? The show that they can listen to you now or find you now online.
Dr. Sharnael True TV is the name.
Okay, Dr. Sharnael True TV. So we can look that. They haven't took that down. That's up and going strong.
Yes, every Thursday at noon Central, and like I said, we just like to talk about deep things, weird things, all the fun things, but we like to laugh and have fun too. That's really
absolutely. Well, I will definitely check you out. And now with the website and the classes and the books, we didn't even get to talk much about the books, but you've got plenty. You're author of some really cool books. What was the science? What was it?
The Science of Miracles, and I have a book on keto. I have some spiritual books, one on the Seer's Handbook. I have one on signs, synchronicities. So there's a lot. And then
you are busy.
Several classes too online. I teach.
Now, if somebody wants to take one of your classes, so they would go to your website.
Yep. drsharnael.com. It's Dr. DRSHARNAEL, like Israel. And there's a whole section for services. If you're here in real life, or if you do want to do something online, I do the biofeedback online. And then, or if you cannot come to my classes in person, I have lots of things online as well that are pre-recorded that you could just sit there and watch at your own convenience and learn from your own house on your own computer, your own phone. This one that's coming up Sunday is actually live, and it's a 2-hour course from 3 to 5. And we're going to be teaching about, how the biofield works and how to create. And we're going to have some basic homework, and we're going to do a live demo on how to map so people can learn how to APCO map so they can have a better income for 2025. And but yeah, and if you want to do biofeedback, you can do services on that too, just by going to drsharnael.com.
That is awesome. And they can get your books, website, Amazon.
Books are on my website and Amazon. There's an audio. There's one of them that got turned into an audio too. So I think that's
cool. I love audiobooks. I do. And the real quick plug, the name of the podcast one more time is
Dr. Sharnael True TV.
Dr. Sharnael True TV. I will check that out. And hey, if you ever need a comedian magician, let me know. I'd love to come on. Yeah, if Rodney's been there, I definitely got to go. Well, I tell you what, Doc, this has been fantastic. We've really enjoyed you. Very interesting topic. I've learned a few things, and I just want to say thank you so much for coming on Beyond the Tinfoil Hat.
Thank you for having me, and bless you guys, and continued prayers for you and your family with everything that's going on. Thank you so much for having me.
Awesome. Thank you so much. All right, guys. I hope you enjoyed that episode tonight. Like I said, Dr. Sharnael Wolverton Dehon. She's very interesting. Be sure to check out her podcast, pick up her books, and check out one of her classes. Sounds very, very cool. And I can get down with the frequency stuff. I think that's really cool. Guys, thank you so much for popping in the chat room tonight. If you guys have not done so, be sure to like, subscribe, smash the like button and the subscribe button. I couldn't get that out. Hit the subscribe button. All right. Be sure to tell your friends, your cats, your dogs, anybody who listens to podcasts to subscribe and check us out. Show us some love. Guys, we are broadcasting live from the E-United Public Radio Network, the UFO Paranormal Radio Network, and 105.3 FM on the Gulf Coast. Let me try to say it slower. And on 107.7 FM New Orleans. Okay, that may have killed a minute. I'm not sure. But I do want to say, guys, thank you so much there in the chat, man. All the love tonight. You guys are great. I love seeing the same names pop up every week and drag some new names. So if you got some new faces, new names out here, bring them out to check it out. We got a really cool episode coming up next week. I think it's Mike Oppenheim. I think it's his name. He's going to come on. I guess we're just going to talk some deep topics. So whatever that could be, we're going to have some great conversation there. And also, if you guys have not done so, head over to Patreon, show us some love at Heed the World, make a little donation, get you access to some really cool articles at theexperiencersupport.org, written by Mr. Ryan Stacy, and check out some of his investigations that he's currently working on. All right, guys, like always, this has been a blast. I will see you guys next Tuesday, 7 p.m. Eastern. My paranormal junkies, keep the normal paranormal, keep the paranormal normal. I'll see you guys next week. All right, that does it for this episode of Beyond the Tinfoil Hat. A big shout out for tonight's awesome guest, and a bigger shout out for everyone who tuned in. And if you haven't done so yet, be sure to subscribe to us on YouTube or wherever it is you listen to your podcasts. And like always, be sure to stay curious, heed the world, and keep the paranormal normal. I'm your host, Danny Whitson, and this has been Beyond the Tinfoil Hat.